Welcome everyone to quick video here. Breaking news. John Carmack of id Software, Commander Keen, Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, Quake, and all the series and so on, and later other things, resigned from Meta. Eternal post got leaked, and I wanted to quickly talk about this. I had this because not about because it's clickbait now and stuff, but I have actually, believe it or not, I have a list of dozens of videos I would want to make if I ever would have had more time again. And one thing on the list is the inefficiency of big mega corporations. And I, of course, work here in my own company, Exact doing Exact Scan and OCR-Kit in our amazing Linux distribution, among other things. And of course, I understand that's a totally whole, like my tiny little small company with a couple of people, and a big mega corporation, you can't compare that. But of course, not only have we been in contact constantly with other big companies, I even before I leaked already that I was at an interview at Apple, but also worked with Google, for example, in standardization stuff. So I had like some years of weekly phone calls where Google people were involved. But also I have friends in the industry, obviously working at Apple, Microsoft, Google, and so on. And so I certainly have a fair share of insight there. And although, yeah, in outside view, obviously, but this is just adding to what I experienced here, right? So I want to briefly mention that, but then I want to summarize what I've seen for years as a very big problem in modern society as a whole, not only at Meta, Apple, Microsoft, Google and stuff. So John Carmack resigned from his position as executive consultant for VR at Meta. The internal post got leaked, so I'll post it here in Hool. And so that's an end of a decade in virtual reality. Quest 2 is on exactly what he wanted to see from the beginning: mobile hardware, inside-out tracking, optional PC, streaming 4K, screen cost effective, despite all the complaints had about the software. Millions of people still getting value. I mean, he has complaints about the software, but good enough for millions of people. Yeah. This is also, imagine how much better it could be if stuff would be more executed for perfection. But they have a good product, no, not perfect, not amazing, world-changing, good product. And that's a difference, right? Inefficient stuff, good product. I mean, thankfully they have a good product, not a bad product, but it's successful, and successful product makes the world a better place. It could have happened a bit faster and have been better if different decisions have been made, but something pretty close to the real thing. Like not perfect, pretty close, like Steve Jobs, hey, it's perfect. John Carmack, yeah, it's pretty close to the good thing. Anyway. The issue is their efficiency. And what I want to talk about today. Some will ask why he cares about the process if it's happening as long as it's happening, right? But I mean, sure, if you only achieve like a tenth, like imagine if you could achieve 10 times, I mean, not only faster to market, but also potentially 10 times better stuff. It's obviously, it's not only, well, it's happening slower and then it's nearly good, the real thing. Like the end results matters too, and the speed. It helps little if you would like 10 years late, right? After all the others. And Apple to the party. So trying to sway others would say that the organization that has only known inefficiency, it is ill-prepared for the inevitable competition and or belt tightening, but really it is more personal pain of seeing 5% GPU utilization numbers in production. I'm offended by it. Edit was being overly poetic here. Several people have missed the intention. As a system optimization person, care deeply about efficiency. When you work hard at optimizing for most of your life, seeing something that's grossly inefficient. Also, obviously he doesn't mean GPU utilization literally. I think he means 5% like Facebook stuff, like colleagues and workforce utilization of like 95% busy with bullshit, like internal messaging and stuff, and only like getting 5% I'm getting stuff done. Is my interpretation here, but I might be wrong. Leave your comments below. Ridiculous amount of people and resources, but they constantly self-sabotage and squander the effort. There's no way to sugarcoat this. I think our organization is operating at half the effectiveness that would make him happy. Some more scoff and content. we are doing just fine, but others will laugh and say, haha, it's a quarter efficiency. Yeah, been struggling, he has voiced that as the highest levels, so it feels like should be able to move things, but evidently not persuasive enough. A good fraction of the things complained eventually turned his way after a year or two passes, after a year or two of inefficiency. But he has never been able to kill stupid things before cause damage. Set directions have, and then it's also like, self-inflicted, not moving there and stuff, and so on. So what I wanted to talk, it's for me, it's not about this. For me, this is just like one more example of what I've seen in the industry. I'm working with that. And that is also like we had meetings in some other standardization groups. I don't really want to. I could name names. Maybe you could guess which. I'm also attending ISO meetings and so on. So I see how inefficient the ISO standardization process, for example, is like with PDF, right? And also with Google, talking with Google and this under other standardization stuff, where there was no end result, right? Sure, I mean, it was like, I think over 2, maybe 3, maybe more than 3 years with Google talking there in some other standardization process. And there was nearly no end result, right? I mean, Google left that. So that's the thing, you want to standardize some stuff, and then Google, after like probably around 3 years, just walked away, right? After 3 years of slow process. And I think that's a big problem, right? I mean, the good thing is, maybe I shouldn't complain, because, I mean, the crazy thing is that all the small and medium-sized companies could be so much more successful because the big mega corporations run at half or a quarter or stuff efficiency. But I think a big problem also is all this modern communication stuff, right? I see so much stuff with this modern tools of Slack and meeting stuff, and certainly meetings, right? This culture of, and also like with Slack and other Microsoft Teams and so on, there is so much overhead of messaging, and so many people in the loop who have nothing to do with it, like wasting their time reading organization messages, and also approval and the whole process of, you have to do some nonsense, even though you are tasked to do some nonsense that you know is not the right solution, and you need to do it anyway because your manager tells you so, doesn't know better, or can also not decide something else. And this modern culture, actually, I have a list of YouTube videos I want to make. I actually thought I'd make a video of me or someone sitting in frustration with Slack and clicking around there and so on. And that was my idea of like frustrating stuff, of illustrating that way, probably get the idea. And it is so crazy that last month, I even missed an ISO meeting, right? Where I knew it's like PDF ISO meeting 32K. I had it in my calendar, like it was scheduled whenever, 20th November or stuff. And I was like, I didn't got a meeting invitation, right? So this was like, it's a one-time thing, but the whole process is super slow at ISO, right? But it's so crazy that you get so much automation and stuff, and then you even miss a major quarterly ISO meeting because you didn't even get the invite. I was actually considering already to look into the, what do they use? Open text or whatever, that might be the ISO management system. But yeah, and then people like logging into systems, and the whole process of, like, if 50% is process, right, or even more, I've seen and experienced with companies, even with government. I had some things with the German government, obviously, with my long history of open source and Linux and scanning stuff. You can actually multiple encounters with German government stuff. For example, the Bundesdruckerei. You know who I'm talking about, right? And some people, you also, that's crazy. You could do so much. We are a small, like 20 years, a German national, like if you think about Auswärtiges Amt and embassies and security and stuff. German national, German born and stuff, like those people who you might want to do about national security things. And just around the corner, right? My previous office was in the Jägerstraße in Berlin, Berlin Mitte. It was probably 5 blocks to the Auswärtige Amt, probably, and 7 crossings to the Bundesdruckerei, for example. but at the end, I could get nearly nothing done with them, right? Because of the process. I mean, and the crazy thing is, some people were even eager to meet. So I know some people from back in the day that they always played it so that we could do something together. But at the end, I also eventually gave up. So much time wasted. It was like, could you do that prototype and that? And no money earned often with that such stuff. And I also found out often some people only want to meet just to get by the day, right? Just like, hey, we can have some fun, some coffee, kill some time. It's boring at Google or some government institute, and it's like, yeah, that is modern efficiency. And I would say we need less of this management stuff, right? And that's the crazy stuff, right? Everyone always talks about productivity and efficiency, and I've only seen some statistics. I mean, theoretically, there is some productivity statistics. I posted that to Discord. Productivity stats or whatever graph. Total factor increase, no, whatever, some graph. I think it recently went down with the pandemic and stuff. Somewhere peaked or whatever. Always use the right graph for your argument, obviously. But I would say we need less of these tasks, management tools, right? Sure, I understand some management tasks can help you organize your stuff, to do tracking, and I mean, certainly some communications, but the crazy stuff is also big mega corporations, also what I've seen from leaks, right? Like Uber or other, when there are at times leaks or at least partial photoshops of scandals. And there are those company Slacks channels and stuff where there is so much noise and keeping people busy and frustrated and fighting with each other over nonsense, from who is allowed to use a coffee machine to what to wear and theme the company party. But like John says here, I can totally see that, right? This is exactly my experience with some big mega corporations, also with hardware vendors. I certainly have a lot of experience and with hardware vendors, and it is often so inefficient. What you could do like in weeks or months often takes quarters or years easily, or and so on. And so my point is we need to less productivity manage with tools like Slack and let people work. Actually, I forgot the meeting illness, right? Let's have a meeting, like I was my government project there. Let's have a meeting to have some coffee stuff and chat about life. And this, I mean, certainly I'm not the only one who says this, right? Twitter and stuff is full with wasting time in meetings. But if companies want to be successful, probably I would even say that is a new Apple illness, right? Also from what I hear from friends and family at Apple. Greetings there. Apple, after Steve Jobs, also develops the same symptoms and problems, that they get very little done with. If you really look at my previous videos, right, mostly disappointed of Apple software, peak bugs, and not that changing hardware. And if you then think how many 10,000 employees Apple has and how little, just look at the iPhones, barely changing, right? Just imagine how much management and meeting overhead, right? It's no wonder, like John Carmack says there, like running at 5% or quarter or 50%. Like I'm not saying you don't need meetings and management, digital management stuff, right? Teamwork, usability. But most people overdo it, right? Most companies way overdo it. And this is how you kill this. The advertisement is, hey, this is productivity, communications on your place and stuff. Like, no, this is a productivity killer. I'm really sorry to bring you this news. And if you work in big mega corporation stuff or have other opinions, leave them in the comments below. But stop over managing people. Sure, some communications is required, what to develop, when and where, time and stuff, but not like the whole day of 50% chit chat and can we meet, can we talk about this? Sure, I'm not saying you never need to talk and never need to meet, but I would even, like other experienced people say, I'm not saying previously everything was better, but you need the right mix, and you cannot 100%ly digital manage your teams like that. That is just killing everyone. And also let those people some freedom, and like also listen to, just because there is a junior or senior developer or designer and all the hardware designer, software designer, coder, programmer, and so on, or other management tasks and stuff, all the other workflow and so on. Just because they are not management stuff doesn't mean that they are stupid, or many of them often have better ideas than the manager. Or I would even say most ideas, or maybe the genius ideas, come from the lower tier people, fresh from university or educated themselves in their home. And they often have the best ideas, and in this digital stuff, they are often all those genius ideas that maybe even I would attribute Apple under Steve Jobs in the 80s and next, in small teams. And that is even similar to my small company, right? You don't need this digital management stuff if you only have 50 or 100 people, right? Certainly that was a different time at Apple and Next and stuff. But you need the right mix, and this digital stuff, you should not kill, like this easily kills innovation at its roots. And that is exactly why, in my opinion, companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google are, the bigger they are, not as innovative anymore. It's more like good old-fashioned, like Siemens, General Electrics and stuff. And even those failed at times, right? It's not like too big to fail. No, a lot of, just look at what all those previous companies that manufactured TVs and other stuff that doesn't exist anymore. Just look at Nokia, right? Too big to fail. And now Apple is leader there. And so, yeah, there needs a better balance than this. And I would say nearly all, I would surprise if there's any really big mega corporation that does not suffer this digital over-management and over-messaging, micromanagement and meeting illness that became this modern workplace. And I would also not call this productivity, right? I don't understand. I mean, maybe this official productivity graphs that are going around at times, and I'm pretty sure I saw recently some that decreased the last years in the pandemic, to nobody's surprise, right? But I would not be surprised if most of the productivity is done outside of this meeting and digital micromanagement culture. I would not be surprised if it's the usual 80-20% rule, that like 80% of the amazing stuff happens outside of this micromanagement and meeting culture. Wouldn't surprise me. Leave in the comments below. I'm not saying this stuff does not work. I'm only saying, like, just like John Carmack noticed, it's wholly inefficient, frustrating. And why do I run my own company, right? Sure, I was interviewed at Apple and Google. And if I wanted, I could obviously have worked everywhere. But I founded my own company in 2006. At least as far as I remember. The year might be a year off, but I think it was 2006. Why did I found my own, incorporate my own company? Because I wanted freedom, right? I wanted to do what I want to do. And do I work the most efficient in my company? No. Of course, I would be even more efficient if I would not try to run also a tiny unsuccessful YouTube channel. But I do this for my fun, right? I do this to spread my sense and hope to also help people not only understand software and hardware, but also this kind of management things. And before I did this YouTube channel, of course, I have not run my own company to the highest efficiency possible. Maybe I would have been in other Microsoft and stuff. But I run it so that I personally enjoy my life, right? And that is probably what a lot of people, maybe I enjoy my life more than the failing Elon Musk stuff. I mean, I'm not sleeping in my office, usually at least. And can do and fun things that I want to do, right? Play with my own Linux distribution after work or during work. Companies or projects annoy me, or a boring ISO meeting. Yeah, at least I have some T2 to compile while we're waiting for the meeting to end. Anyway, leave in the comments below what you think. It doesn't surprise me that are my 2 cents to this topic. As usual, I hope this insight helps you. If you start a company, then obviously you don't have to deal with that. But if you start a company, I would advise you not to start over investing in digital teamwork and productivity management. In my opinion, mostly killer. Until you have, I would say, maybe 50 people, you might not really need that, but leave in the comments below. And if you're a big mega corporation, then you probably want to reevaluate how you run it and how much management and messaging overhead there is, because all the time spent, or like not all, but most of the time spent in meetings and messaging is time people don't spend on getting real stuff done. I hope you found it interesting and learned something. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and have a good day, weekend, and looking forward to the next videos and live streams to come.